So far, we've learned about Bulgarian vampires, the Torbalan and the Navi. Now we will explore more monsters in Bulgaria, as well as the monster trailing me. Welcome to Trailing Monsters. The Black Death, plague, that slaughtered between 30 and 60% of Europe in the 14th century, entered the continent through the Balkans, namely ports on the western Black Sea as seen here in Bulgaria. The contagion made Bulgaria even more vulnerable than it was already to attack from and occupation by the Ottoman Empire. According to Bulgarian scholar Milan Nikolov, the population of Bulgaria on the eve of the plague was 2.5 million, which was then reduced to 1.5 million people. While the bubonic plague continued to be the most infamous, there have been and continue to be many outbreaks of plagues and pandemics. Where is that stone? Methuselah! Did you take my stone? The Bulgarian word for plague is chuma. More than the personification of pestilence, she is a decision-making entity dressed in black and carrying a stick. She is often described as a hideous old woman with bony arms and fingers like a raptor's talons. Chuma does not hunt down individuals, but arrives when the community is living in sin and shoots them with her arrows. Chuma can be merciful, especially to widows and the elderly. How can you protect yourself from the Chuma? Keep your house clean, or suffer the consequences. Their throats, black on the inside, sweated oozy blood. And the walled pathway of the voice of man was clogged with ulcers. And the very tongue, the mind's interpreter, would trickle gore, weakened by torments, tardy, rough to touch. Next, when that influence of bane had chalked down through the throat, the breast, and streamed, had eaten into sullen heart of those sick folk, then verily all the fences of man's life began to topple. From the mouth the breath would roll a noisome stink, as stink to heaven, rotting cadavers flung unburied out. And lo, thereafter, all the body's strength and every power of mind would languish, now in very doorway of destruction. And anxious anguish and ululation mixed with many a groan companioned alway the intolerable torments. Night and day, recurrent spasms of vomiting would rack alway their thews and members breaking down. With sheer exhaustion, men already spent. Illness may not rise to the level of plague. In that case, perhaps witches are to blame. They are called magiosnici. They are women, usually very old and very ugly. Bulgarian villages may have a resident white witch for the purposes of healing and a black witch for curses, revenge, just your run-of-the-mill harm against your neighbor. Most of the witches, however, are rogues who care only about themselves. They may steal the seed planted in a neighbor's field, perhaps. In the guise of a bird, they may embezzle the milk from your cow. They can do this by casting a direct spell, or perhaps they will cause the cow to wander from its own yard to another's and nurse another's calf found there. Some very rare and very powerful witches have the power to bring down the moon to place inside their own dwelling, to shed more light on their workings. How do Bulgarian witches work their evils on people? They may plant magically treated food or drink for the unsuspecting victim. They may plant bewitched items somewhere in the victim's clothing, so make sure to check your pockets. As in many other cultures, they may by stealth procure items that belong to the intended victim, such as a strand of hair or clipped fingernail or anything, usually something small that belongs to her target. Through what is called sympathetic magic, the item can be treated abusively and by extension bring harm to the owner. For instance, a witch could cut a strand of hair in half to shorten someone's lifespan. It was in Simeonovo, Bulgaria, outside the capital of Sofia proper, that I happened upon this most peculiar abandoned building, just by taking a stroll. I returned soon to my hotel, though, as the monster trailing me started to catch up. But I was determined to return the next day for more detailed footage and commentary. I've mentioned a couple of times by now the monster trailing me, the multiple sclerosis, and I wanted to just explain a little bit about what MS is briefly. If you look at this power cord here, what you see is not the actual wires. What you see is the cord. It's insulation, protecting the wires that are inside. Well, suppose a mouse were to get at this cord and chew away at it, eventually exposing the wires. Well, the cord wouldn't work so well. It would glitch at times, and everybody's central nervous system, the brain, the spinal cord, and the optic nerve are very much like this cord. They're covered with insulation. It's called myelin, and when you have multiple sclerosis, your autoimmune system is the mouse, and it's attacking the insulation, causing the scarring, the sclerosis that results in MS. And just like a faulty cord, it causes the central nervous system to glitch in many different ways. I think I mentioned I started a new medication a couple of years ago. It took almost a year to kick in, but it really did give me my life back. But I still have to be careful. I'm doing things now that 5, 6, 7 years ago I would have never even considered. So I still have to watch myself. I have to be careful. I've decided I'm done for the day. No more exploring, no more trailing. When I went to pack my tripod next morning for wide-angle shots, I discovered that the piece that connects my camera to the tripod was missing. I checked everywhere, my backpack, my pockets, my luggage, the room, under the bed. It was just gone. Perhaps one of the local Magionitsi did not like you prowling around where you didn't belong. Profoundly discouraged, as this also meant no wide shots with me in them would happen for the next several weeks, which would be the remainder of the trip, but I went back anyway. I went back to where I'm staying and pulled one of the fellows aside and asked about the abandoned building down the road. And he smiled and said, "Welcome to Bulgaria." I asked if anything happened here, and he said, "Nothing." I asked him, "Are there any ghosts?" And he said, "No." I asked him if there were stories of any witchcraft going on here, and he assured me, "No." And as far as the owners of the property are concerned, he said that the property is currently owned by, well, no one. And well, perhaps at the end of the day, all of this is the product of basically nothing and no one. And sometimes the nothing that may be going on is more than meets the eye, and sometimes it just may be what meets the eye. Of course, the witch of all witches in Slavic countries is the notorious Baba Yaga, known in the West mostly through Russian folk tales, thanks largely to the marvelous collection from Alexander Afanasyev. Baba Yaga makes her rounds through Bulgaria too, and she is not the least bit interested in picking up fingernail clippings from off the floor or take responsibility for that missing sock. Baba Yaga comes from ancient times. She may use a cave, but her actual home is a hut hoisted on giant chicken legs, a mobile home. She rides through the air by means of a magical pestle and mortar, perfect for stirring up storms. Perfect for pulverizing human bones for her food. A special delicacy is the children who wander too close to her home. They are so tender, you know. If she is in the mood, Baba Yaga may even help people, especially young women struggling with their love life. If she is in the mood, she may even be willing to answer your deep questions. However, it is said that Baba Yaga ages a year for every question she's asked, so beware. Because contrary to popular Western belief, yes, there are such things as stupid questions. If you're looking for a cure to what ails you and you do not wish to present yourself to one of the witches or Baba Yaga herself, there is another way it can be done undercover, though it is no less dangerous. You can sneak up on the Samaldivi, or the singular Samaldiva, brewing their herbal concoction and spy on what they do and say. Is it magic, or is it real alchemy? Quiet, Methuselah. The Samaldivi appear to be cousins to the Romanian Yele, discussed at length in a previous episode. The Samaldivi are profoundly beautiful blonde spirits in white who live in the Bulgarian woods or near lakes, rivers, and streams, or perhaps a cave. They only live in this earthly realm during the spring and summer. If a man sees one, he falls hopelessly in love. If a woman sees her, she may be driven to suicide, becoming unbearably jealous over the matchless beauty found in the other. A Samodiva owns what is called her shadow, a long white cloth that gives her her power. If perchance you can steal her shadow, she will become a normal woman. You may even marry her and have a family. Her children will grow to be strong, heroic people. However, a Samodiva does not make a very good parent to young children. A Samodiva may seduce a man. She is especially fond of shepherds playing on their pipes. They will dance all night with her new lover. He will chase her around the woods. Catching his newfound love is his only concern now in life. But at daybreak they will disappear, leaving the poor man to die of exhaustion. Encounters with the Samodevi rarely turn out in one's favor. The moon comes out and day grows dim. On heaven's vault the stars now throng. The forest rustles, quiet stirs the wind. The mountains sing an outlaw song. Wood sprites in their white-hued dress, fair and beautiful, take up the tune. Hushed their footfall in the grass, as all about him then sit down. One sprinkles coolness over him, another binds his wound with herbs, a third's quick kisses touch his lips, and softly smiles as he looks up at her. As we've seen, Bulgaria is chock full of monsters. But the people are prepared. They dress as the mummers to confront the evil spirits in their midst. With hideous costumes, they make loud noises to frighten the frightening. Using like to repel like is a common practice the world over, as with our Halloween costumes in America. In Bulgaria, mummers may appear during the 12 days of Christmas, which begin Christmas Day, by the way, and on the Sunday before Lent, but the greatest festivals occur later in winter when people begin to anxiously long for spring. The festival is known as the Kukri, and it is believed to derive from the ancient Thracians who lived in the region thousands of years ago. The Thracians left no written documentation, but the archaeological evidence reveals a polytheistic people who worshiped the fertility god Dionysus. Among his followers were the satyrs, half-goat in appearance, and most likely the inspiration behind the exaggerated mummer mask. The Thracians, at the beginning of their new year, would perform a ritual dance to scare away the evil spirits most active during the harsh winter, in order to secure a fertile spring, leading to an abundant harvest. It's actually Christmas Eve Day, 2022, and I'm coming out of an MS episode. It's how I'm able to hold this device. I don't even know if I'm going to use this footage, but the weather has been terrible here, typical for winter, but extremely difficult for me. I took a hot shower today, and I should not have done that, and my energy levels just plummeted after that. But like I said, I'm coming out of it. So it's my intention within this next week to get this episode of Trailing Monsters put together and pushed out before the new year. I'm just going to rest a little bit more. It's about 2 minutes later. I think I'm going to be okay now. Just like that. But the weather got bad, and so I got bad, having difficulty standing for long periods of time, but I have not needed my wheelchair in a couple of years now, and for that I'm very thankful. But I also am having some problems with weakness in my hands and wrists,
That impacts my ability to to type out the manuscript. I'd say that if I feel this way come summer, I won't be traveling anywhere. It's just not going to happen. So here's looking to better days ahead, right?
The next stop in our journey of trailing monsters will be revealed in the closing credits.